Have you experienced this idea of separation? Have you experienced this idea of sliding out of the body? But it's very bizarre because in reality, you're not even in the body. You're nowhere and you're everywhere. That's what I'm saying. There are levels to it. And depending on how you're thinking, which is an oversimplification, it's more like depending on your brainwave state, how you are up here, that'll determine your perception of reality. And you can change your perception like a dial on a radio, different meditations. And you can come to these realizations. You answer questions, it'll tell you where you're stuck. You have to go through the questionnaire for it to assess where you're stuck. Then it will give you an article that I wrote out, and the article will tell you exactly how to get over your problem. It will remember your score. So after the questionnaire, it will give you a score when it comes to alertness. Basically, it's called an astral projection readiness score. It'll break down the many different components that you need to have a grip on to leave the body, more or less. And it'll give you this score, then it'll give you the article, and in the article, it will tell you how to fix the problem, the main problem in your results. And then again, it will record your score. And so the next time you go to it, maybe it'll be like a week later, you do the questionnaire. Now the questions, you're gonna have different answers to the questions, right? Maybe you're able to stay aware for a longer period of time. So maybe that was easy. And then you click easy, very easy. And then your score will be different. And it'll train you again, it'll give you the next piece of information that you need to help iron out the cracks. And this can help you astral project for those who want something for free.
In this next episode, I sat down with Ryan Cropper. If you don't already know who he is, he's very experienced in the outer body state, and he shared a lot of his experiences he's had. And he also shared a very in-depth, kind of like an instruction manual of how to get to the outer body state. So I think it's very, very valuable. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. Make sure you take some notes, and let's get on with the video. I'll start with how I've been starting recently in other interviews by asking, when did your journey start, and maybe how did it start? Was there like an initiator or a catalyst that kind of like sparked your life maybe into a different direction than typically it was going?
It's a good question. You know, when you see kids and they're very small and they can see ghosts, they're kind of looking around everywhere, or maybe they're just like unusually quiet. And you're like, oh, there's something going on with that particular individual there. So that was my early life, just very switched on, very aware. I remember looking at adults, knowing the situation that they were in. You know, toddlers, babies, they're not as clueless as people think. I'm sure if a lot of people remember how they truly were, they're very much aware and very much intelligent. Of course, they're not smart in the sense that you're not book smart and you haven't like accumulated knowledge of the world just yet. You know, that's why you rely on people, unless you've reincarnated and you already know that stuff. But ultimately, what I'm trying to get to is that there's this level of awareness that children have around life situations, almost as if they kind of understand the flow of life much more than an adult. And with that comes a certain level of perception when it comes to things that come in and out of this world. You can also see them, you know? You kind of understand perhaps what they are, especially if, like I said, you've reincarnated or you spent some time someplace else before you inhabited the body. You may even remember who you were before you reincarnated in this kind of neutral space. You may even remember why you came here. You may even remember the things you were talking to, the plan, so to speak, you know? I was watching an interview the other day. Her name is Daniela, I think. She can see blindfolded, and her daughter reminded me very much of myself, but turned up to the max. She's autistic. She's on the spectrum. And so I don't know if you've heard some of the telepathy tapes, but a lot of autistic children have been shown to have a lot of these types of abilities and this advantage, but they don't just kind of out of it. They stay this way, right? For like, I don't know, maybe until adulthood. They still have telepathy. They still know how things go. They still have these connections to these beings in other planes. They remember where they came from. So her story reminded me of my own, but just ramped way up, Myself, I lost a lot of it. I still generally remember how I was and the things I was communicating with and the cutoff point, what age until all that stuff started disappearing. It was around 13. And I started becoming more normal, if you will. I know why it became more normal. It's just life and getting pulled into the drama of life and the many different roles and the many different conditions that we're in, like school, entering school for the first time and all the stress that can throw into an individual. It kind of just shuts out our higher perception, our aligned state of being, and kind of just throws us into chaos. And like I said, I just kind of was this way in the beginning, aware. Even telepathy, like when people, I wouldn't look at it like telepathy. Yeah.
So how do you think that it's the typical normal societal lives that kind of shuts that down as we get to,
Yeah.
10,
And I've
12,
been thinking
15?
maybe it's on purpose. I'm thinking maybe it's on purpose. Because I always make this running joke in the house. I say everyone's telepathic. I just think they're ignoring it.
Or dormant?
Because, well, I don't know if I would even say dormant. I walk into some stores nowadays and I truly wonder if maybe they just don't recognize it anymore. People look at me and they think in certain types of ways. And I'm like, did you do that on purpose? Like, did you not, you're not self-aware of what you're doing? And everyone seems to be doing it. Like everyone seems to be putting out signals, receiving signals and judging after the fact. Like I was saying, when I was really, really, really small, I didn't call it telepathy. I don't think many people do. It's just this way of communicating with things. It's like if you're an animal person, for example, and you have a cat and you're very intuitive with that cat, it's the level of telepathy there. If you take mushrooms, you're going to hear its thoughts. So like children are very similar. It doesn't matter the language you're hearing, you kind of know what they're saying. And sometimes you could be so dialed in, you know exactly what they're saying. And so that's when it gets weird. But like I said, life throws things at you. They throw context at you as well. They show you what it should look like. And like, really, that's what it should look like? And if anything, that would be the block. It's thinking that you know how it should be. And so you just don't intuitively go into these abilities already. And you try doing it the way that society tells you it should be. But yeah, and astral projection was one of them. Sliding out the body, I did it so often I didn't even know it was astral projection. In fact, I didn't know it was astral projection until I was like 16. When I was much smaller, I didn't even know I was sliding out. I would just lie in bed and I didn't even know I blinked. All of a sudden, there are things walking throughout the space, and I think I'm wide awake in a physical body. For years, this happened, Um, there were also times when I was a baby sitting down and I was actually awake and I could see ghosts walking in and out of the living room amongst my parents. And so I didn't differentiate those states at all until they were shut down. I drowned at the age of 16 and came close to death. And then I came to, and the foreseeable weeks and months, the abilities started cracking open again. And then I started astral projecting without, again, realizing what it was. And then I kind of, I don't know if I would say manifested, but maybe more. So alignment, a video kind of showed up explaining it. I was like, okay, that sounds more like what I'm actually doing. Okay, cool. And then memories started surfacing because of the near-death experience. I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit or speeding past this quite a bit, but after drowning, memories surfaced. These memories brought about confusion in my body, memories of sliding out of body, experiencing these other places, these other beings. My body couldn't tell the difference between now and the past because I'm lying in bed seeing these memories flashing before my eyes. My body thinks it's happening now. Boom, I slide out of body. I then try to figure out, okay, what happened? How can I do this on purpose? I come up with memory exercises. I put together all these different techniques over this span of 4 years to try and throw my body back into the past. Not literally, but try to meet those same conditions to have it spontaneously happen. I come up with quite a few over time. A lot of them are anxiety inducing. not to say out there with people, just make yourself anxious and you'll slide out. No, it's very specific to my childhood and upbringing. There were certain conditions where had to stay awake in my bed because I was on high alert for certain things, certain people. And so it kind of put me in that in between as well and helped me kind of come out. And so like I would try and use all these different elements from my past to trick my body into initiating an out of body experience, and it worked. I came up with exercises again that were anxiety inducing. They weren't so good, so I tossed them out, created new ones that were more easy on my system. Then I got so good at it, I could just lie there and slide out without technique. Since then, it's been like a mission to try and gain as much of this, well, as much of my past self as I possibly can, if you will. Try and put myself back to normal, abilities included. And I feel like I'm getting close. I feel like life kind of throws me presents every now and then. It throws me people and situations and things, and they have different pieces of the puzzle. And that's just life thus far.
Yeah. Synchronicities.
Yeah,
So
synchronicities.
could you help us to kind of distinguish all of these out of body things, like astral projection, lucid dreaming, or just an purpose initiation of an out of body experience? Like, are these all the same thing, or are they just variations of the same thing? Or could you just like,
If you want to get really big into it, but so they're not all the same thing. If you look at it from a very grounded perspective, being a person in 3D and lucid dreaming, you go inside your own mind and you're looking at things, you can control things, you can control the environment, you can figure out why it is you're being presented certain dreams in the first place. Usually it's a tool for personal growth if you are using it for that purpose. Astral projection, on the other hand, is you're sliding out of the body. I'll get more into that in a second, the mechanics of that. Using what's known as a desire body. We have the desire to
a what? Sorry.
leave a desire body. I believe the word for it is kamarupa in certain mystical traditions, but it's this idea that based on your intentions and your energies, that can conjure a specific body, not from the depths of hell or anything, but you have this kind of magnetism quality to you where if you want something to happen, your body knows exactly how to generate the right energy to make that thing happen. It's like emotions. If you're feeling emotional, your body knows exactly how to feel emotions, rage, love, happiness, you name it. If you want to slide out of the body and you have the desire to leave, it's a certain energy that tends to circulate throughout the system. And that can create what has often been referred to as a body, just for the sheer sake that energy in a physical body or near it tends to take on its own form. Going back to your question, is everything the same? I think this is one of those things, one of those questions where you want to ask the question, is everybody the same? Because from a different perspective, your energy can be expressed in many different shapes and forms, depending on how you're looking at it. If you're in 3D, everything tends to separate itself. It's just the nature of kind of physics. Like slurry, for example, would get a whole bunch of dirt inside of a glass container full of water, and the heaviest sediments will sink to the bottom first, and then second to that would sink, and the third to that would sink, and you get finer and finer gradients of matter. Similarly here with energy in the third dimension, your emotions, your thoughts, even like your mental thoughts, and getting your desires to do something. These are all like gradients of energy that create subtle bodies. And so if you're outside of the third dimension, though, if you have these types of experiences where you're no longer bound to the perceptions of dualism, then you can actually kind of see that, oh, from this perspective, all of your energies kind of come from one kind of energy. And it just so happens that tends to be the fact the further out you get from this plane or from this experience. But to go back to your question, yes, astral projections are different from lucid dreams, but they are also different from a whole host of different kinds of out-of-body experiences, because there are many ways in which the soul can leave the body. In this case that we just explained, that's the astral body, right? Through desire. But you could die, and it's a different body for that. I'm not entirely sure which body it is, because I haven't been able to see that whole process thoroughly, or been fortunate enough to make myself actually die over and over and over again, which is a Taoist practice that can be done. It's often referred to as being very different from out-of-body experiences, because you like go all the way and the body starts to shut down, your lips go blue. I'm not sure if you've
Wow.
seen him, this guy called Grandmaster Wolf. He talks about it quite a bit. It's a different kind of thing. He also learned how to astral project over there. But another thing that him and his sect would practice regularly, although they shouldn't have been practicing without a master, is this actual death state. So depending on the different kinds of experiences, like the way in which the soul can leave the body, that would rely on a specific energy body, more or less. You have the mental body that can leave, or you can experience rather the mental plane. Emotional body, you can go to emotional planes. Those are very uncomfortable, depending on where you go, as you can imagine. You have astral, like we just discussed, and there's another one called causal. You can leave using your
Causal
causal
body.
body. Yeah. And so those will each take you to different experiences. Now, when it comes to taking you to different experiences, that is also a very interesting kind of way of explaining it. That's how we tend to explain it here in 3D, where we use, again, black or white terms and this kind of physical perspective. Again, going back to the slurry analogy, because have you heard of, I mean, everyone's heard of simulation theory, but have you heard of field theory, universal field theory?
Yes, I wanted to ask you at some point today because I've heard you mention it a lot.
Yeah, so it's this idea that everything is all just one universal field, and that's you, it's me, it's everything. You hear about it a lot in Qigong. Everything's all Qi field, they would say. You hear it a lot in different circles. They'll refer to it as the absolute. In more New Age spiritual circles, they refer to it as source consciousness. If you take DMT or any kind of psychedelic, or even swim in those circles, you will hear a lot of stories about reality deconstructing itself. Holographic universe is another word that you'll often hear about as well. So when we look at it like this, what you're really playing with here is an intelligence that has the ability to hallucinate and experience in many different ways. This one, as you can see it, you can look at it like an hallucination of God kind of experiencing itself in a dream. And there are layers to it. There are, you can call it code, you can call it programming, but there are individual experiences in this simulation, experiences such as astral projection, all out of body experiences, whether you die or not. The simulation has a program for it. It's kind of like the Matrix. Have you seen any Matrix before?
Yes,
I
yeah,
think it went straight
yes.
to DVD
Yeah.
release. Yeah, the cartoon version. There's different kinds of cartoons. Well, there's one
No, I haven't seen the
where,
cartoon version.
yeah, look it up. It's a DVD release. You should be able to find it on YouTube or something. But it's not so known. It goes deeper into the idea of the Matrix and one specific story. It's an anthology series, so each episode is different art style by different artists, different story even. But they're centered around this idea of the Matrix. And one of them is really cool because they wake up out of the Matrix and to find themselves in another Matrix. And so on and so on and so on. And that's just the nature of reality. And so it's similar when it comes to the universal field theory, creating different experiences that you can experience. For this reason, one of the, well, many of the levels, have you experienced this idea of separation? Have you experienced this idea of sliding out of the body? But it's very bizarre because in reality, you're not even in the body. You're nowhere and you're everywhere. That's what I'm saying. There are levels to it. And depending on how you're thinking, which is an oversimplification, it's more like depending on your brainwave state, depending on how you are up here, that'll determine your perception of reality. And you can change your perception like a dial on a radio, different meditations, and you can come to these realizations. But it's interesting.
Fascinating. Because it makes all of our whole, like, isn't our whole experience, especially here on the earth, is all related to that, right? How we experience the whole experience here, and
Yeah,
where it's coming from. What are the drivers? Like, how much can we control it? How much can we change our perception? All that kind of stuff.
right. You're exactly right. And people, they're being controlled by their bodies. They're not really there. Their drives, their aspirations, the words that they choose. It's just body stuff. It's their brain, their chemistry, hijacking their consciousness and making them, I wouldn't say all the same, but they're all pretty much on the same frequency. And you hear about this a lot, especially if you get into spirituality. Like you come into real spirituality, sorry, you come from real spirituality into the spiritual trend, I should say, because you'll find yourself going in a full circle. The terms change, and people will say, "Oh, these people are so asleep. These people are animalistic," and you will tell that it doesn't feel quite right. Hearing people being referred to as animalistic or unconscious and stuff like that, and that's for its own reason, but it's just where people are at in that moment. They just kind of, you're like this and I'm like this. It's still in dualism. They're not quite there yet. So I'm saying that tends to happen in the spiritual trending phase, the spiritual trend phase, because you're still being run by your body. It's just you're trying to be spiritual, and so you still kind of take those animalistic qualities and project them into a spiritual space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sounds like somebody who's maybe a little bit ahead of themselves, actually, and like or projecting that they're ahead of where they really are on their growth.
Exactly, and it actually makes them go really far back. I'm not here to like judge people or like put them on the chopping block. I make that point because if you're in the new age spirituality or you've gone through that trend, you would have noticed that people are operated by their brain and their physical body. And this is simply because their consciousness is super low. And it's one thing to hear someone say that, it's another thing to see it. Like to actually know what's happening. To actually know what's happening, you yourself need to no longer be driven by the body. And that's not easy. People have tried. They've tried to like wrangle this thing in. But if you can pull it off, and there's quite a few ways of doing it, your mindset will become quite elevated and you'll experience far more than astral projection. DMT states like it's nothing. You can choose whether or not to go in and out of different spaces. You remember what you were long before you were in a physical body. You'll return back to places, very familiar places. Like, oh, I remember being here. Like you just left like yesterday. You remember the kind of conversations you'd had with these beings or this specific space, why this specific room was created in the first place, what you used it for, you know? And I don't want to jump around or anything, but yeah, it's people need to come out of their body in a sense, quite literally, and also mentally sometimes.
Yeah, but I feel like there's like an evolution to us as humanity and people of,
Hmm.
being that very animalistic to
Hmm.
go through stages to get to, I don't know if you call it enlightenment or whatever you call it, but there's like a trajectory, and there's lots of humanity at different stages along that spectrum or path.
Exactly. And this is when it gets very interesting because you're looking at like culturally how as a group everyone wakes up. You can literally see it, whether it's, especially the longer you live, you're like, oh, wow, I could see how these things were in movement 10 years ago, 5 years ago, how it built momentum, how certain stresses in certain cultures created an explosion in awareness or empathy. Um, and it's so hard not to. I was literally thinking about this like yesterday. I was like, the longer you live, no, actually, I was thinking about it this morning. My brain often runs scenarios. I imagine meeting an old man that was in his 70s, and I was like, how, like, you must know already how true evolution unfolds. You've watched it for 70 years. You've watched people dip in and out of trends. You've watched people be forced to self-actualize. You've watched real spirituality. It doesn't need to be a trend. You don't need to do any of that. But just live life. You'll see it all unfold. You've watched it all. And I think about that every now and then. Yeah, you really don't have to do a whole lot to move everything forward. You just kind of you can watch, you can participate, you can just be. It's entirely up to you.
What you said just a few moments ago, you said that there was a few different ways there was a few different modalities or ways to get yourself there. What were you referring to there? Were you just referring to out of body experiences?
Zen. You can do Zen practices to speed up your dissolution. These are practices that are designed to tear apart your sense of self and to speed up this self-actualizing process. Rather than waiting 70 years and realizing that you've been different people throughout life, you can actually just sit there and think about the different people that you've been throughout life. No matter what age you are, even if you're in your 20s, you can sit there and you can think about who you were when you were a teenager. And you can ask yourself the question, who was I before this? And then you can ask yourself that same question again when another answer comes up. Who was I before that? Who was I before that? Who was I before the introduction of YouTube? That's a great one. Because if you're a millennial, you've been brought up with the internet. And so it's probably a part of your personality deeply ingrained. And so you can say to yourself, who was I before the internet? Wait a minute, can I remember that far back? Yep, you can. The brain will show you. You don't have to look. You just have to ask the question and keep asking these questions. Who was I before this? Who was I before that? And do that for a few days. And then all of a sudden, you will feel this kind of washing of personality take over, this dissolution. You'll start to kind of come to your senses. And if you are a millennial out there, social media detox. Make your phone dumb. We call it a dumb phone. Or the minimalist app or the dumb phone app on your phone, or just get a flip phone, something that makes it harder for you to get to your apps and makes your phone quite boring. You'll find you'll just leave it around. You won't go on it anymore. You won't go on the social media apps anymore. Then you'll be like, wait, who was I before Instagram? Holy crap. It's like your head's above water. And then do the same thing with your clothes. Look at your wardrobe. Who was I before I chose this style? And this doesn't mean you want to go back to another version of you and call that done. You always want to go back. Who was I before someone introduced to me dungarees? Dungarees was something that my mom would give me and my brother when we were like 6 or 5. Who was I before that? And then you realize you weren't really anyone. You were just being clothed in different styles that weren't your own. You probably didn't even identify with the clothes you were wearing until a specific age. So why are you still identifying with the clothes that you're wearing now? Like, at what point did you choose that action and why did you keep doing it? Same thing happens with holidays too. We're introduced to birthdays and Christmases. We don't identify with them at all until a specific age. It might be pretty early though. Still, it might be like 3 or 4. But before that, like your first or your second birthday, you didn't identify with any of it. That was everyone else doing it for you. So at what point did you choose to be like, okay, that's my holiday? It's not your holiday. You've taken ownership of it and you're pretending that it's yours. But when you die, it's going to continue without you. So you don't own it. It's something that was introduced to you. And so your clothes, your sense of character, your culture, holidays, all that stuff's just been introduced to you. It's not you. It's something you can play with. And this doesn't mean that you just kind of hate on it and judge it and be like, oh, this ruined my life because it took me away from self and all this other stuff. No, you won't be able to actually, because after you realize it's not you and you come to a nice sense of nothing, and that eventually becomes your sense of self, which is a weird way of saying it, but you'll start to appreciate these holidays. You'll start to appreciate these clothes. You'll start to appreciate these different mannerisms that you've had throughout your life, whether it's cussing till you're blue in the face or doing the complete opposite. You'll start to appreciate the different people that come in and out of your life. Who you were with them, you won't judge who you were when you were around them. you might have been a bully in your life, and you're not now. You won't judge the time you accidentally hit, or you deliberately hit someone. None of that. You'll just appreciate it all, and you'll appreciate it from a different perspective, and that you won't be trying to force appreciation, because that's like the spiritual trend kind of way, like trying to, like you said, project a sense of self. You'll have no choice but to appreciate it. You won't have a choice. Even when you get older, this is what I'm saying. It happens naturally. You won't have a choice but to appreciate your life. You can't not do it. It's like when you go back to your hometown and you're walking through a park that you used to frequent when you were a child. You can't help but appreciate it. It's a real feeling. And nowadays I watched Miss Doubtfire last night. Half of it. Didn't get around to watching all of it just yet. I'll watch it later. Everyone had to go to sleep. But it's there. When you're watching old movies that you used to watch as a kid, you didn't quite understand at the time. But now you can understand them because you're older. It's real, real spirituality. And so when you ask these questions, you start to like just strip away everything. And if you take these things very personal, if you have an emotional reaction to them, if you're like, oh, I can't deal without a birthday, or I can't deal without Halloween, you're going to be tying yourself to these things for a long time. But even that can be eroded slowly in a good way. Like if you start focusing on a different part of the solution, could be something small, then it'll be easier to let go of certain things. It doesn't mean you stop participating in them. You participate in them for different reasons. Maybe you want to remember what it's like to have a Christmas because you kind of miss it. Sure, you can start it again. That's fine. Or maybe you want to like hang around people that celebrate Christmas. You can do that too. Or maybe you'll go a few years without celebrating Christmas. That's okay as well. The reality is how you were when you were born is how you should be all the time. No pressure to do anything. It's not yours. You're simply experiencing, and that's it. You should be able to let go of things just as easy as you see them. Ideally, not even hold on to them. You just experience them. And if you can do that, life gets much easier. You don't really lose anything that isn't yours. If something doesn't happen, you're not emotionally thrown one way. Everything's good. Maybe next year.
Yeah, that sort of reminds me of a little bit sort of like meditation type practices where I've had situations where I have really felt that sort of like core essence, soul, spirit that's me, that is basically was always me from a childhood that hasn't, like not changed. But what's happened is all these layers of personality have been added on top over the years, and then now in this adult life, I'm in the process of slowly removing those layers. But then the other sort of paradox with it, I've I've wondered about is, um, especially like these out of body type experiences. I find that some people are heading that direction in some kind of like avoidance or some kind of like trying to get away from the life or the suffering that they're in. That's why they're trying to escape out of body or something. What do you think of, how do you sort of like correlate those things together?
I mean, that's exactly why people do it at certain points, and that seems to be the most, that seems to be the main driving factor. But it's like you said, everything has a natural evolution to it anyway. There is no right or wrong way, technically. It's just the way that the culture is finding out these things. And so technically it's right just by happenstance. It's just the way things are right now. Maybe there'll be a time when people are influenced into out-of-body experiences for other reasons, but yeah, it's one of those things. I just hope that people leave their body like I did. Because even I, at one point, was like that when I was a teenager. I was like, I don't really want to be here anymore. I want to go over here and do this. Like I was in college, didn't really like college, didn't really like hanging out. I just wanted to lay down and actually project. It's easier. For that small moment, because I know a lot of people can hear that and think, oh, he did that his whole life. Escapism. They'll run with that. No, life's very different in different stages. But yes, I did have a specific moment of my life where I did use it as a form of escapism. And you know what ended up happening? I ended up being out so often I appreciated this place more. You know, I started seeing how they
Almost
were
like a
intimately
safeguard.
connected. I wouldn't say it's safeguard per se. It's more so just reality. It's like, oh, like you think it's better over here. The grass is green on the other side, but really you're missing a hole. It's like you have a massive pizza and you think just this part of the stuffed crust is the best, and you're like not looking at this entire pizza over here with all its toppings, and that's life. And when I was a teenager, I didn't travel the world, so represented by all those toppings, I didn't know how good life was because I had just started. Um, but then I started traveling. I started I started traveling, and I was like, wow, like this is really, really nice. And so,
The real 3D.
like without the noise, but even the noise sometimes can be great. Like certain cities, it just kind of depends on where you're at in life. If you're very relaxed and very calm and usually pretty optimistic, life's going to look a lot different than if you were pretty down in the dumps. And so you'll start to see how everything's connected and everything as a whole is pretty beautiful. There's no need to run away. And I only hope that certain people realize that as well. If they do choose to leave the body through an act of escapism, that they're going to come to that same conclusion.
We're focused now quite a lot on the world and the 3D and physical. What going to the outer body experiences or things? What are the big advantages, or what are the big things that you can get from there and sort of like bring back into this world?
Mm. It's more so just, well, okay. So let me be careful with my phrasing. It's
Is
more
that too
so,
broad of a question?
no, it's there. It's just there's two ways of saying it. Like I could say knowledge, but then everyone's brain is like, oh, knowledge. I want knowledge. I want to go over there and learn everything and get ahead in life. Or I could say insight, which I think is so much more valuable. You'll get over there and you'll see things as they are. You'll see how things are connected to certain things. And everything will start to make sense gradually, of course, not all at once, usually. And then you come over and you're more of a wiser individual, not in that you've lived for many years, but just you kind of see things differently now, you know? And that I think is valuable, and that's something that you can get. I say the word knowledge, people start attaching materialistic meaning to it because that's just the nature of being in a body. It's kind of driving the show. You want to use it for power. And unfortunately, that is also something you can get. You can go over there and learn abilities. Beings can tell you how to do things. They can tell you how to do things such as telekinesis, telepathy, how to improve your out of body experiences. They can tell you all these things. But the problem with saying stuff like that is you're kind of enticing people to go over there for the wrong reasons. And I've been doing this for a while and been around a lot of different types of people for a while. And there are, that specific demographic of the population that want to use astral projection for the wrong means. They want to go over there and learn how to spy on people. They want to go over there and learn how to do magic stuff and send thought forms to people, and for the wrong reasons. And I'm not really enforcing that, so I have to use the right words because I don't want to give someone the wrong impression. What is wrong, people would say, but it's not true to me and like how I am. So that's why I'm saying it's wrong. It doesn't feel right. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what can you bring? You can bring quite a lot over. You can bring anything over at your destruction or to your, you know, elevation. It just depends on the timing in which you're leaving the body, like who you are at the time, what are your goals, what are the reasons, and for better or for worse, that'll determine your experience over there too. You'll attract negative beings if you're of a low vibration, and that can destroy you, or you'll attract positive beings that'll give you all the good things. And the brilliant thing about getting all the good things is you get all the other stuff anyway later. It doesn't have to be one before the other, power before enlightenment. You can go the good route and get everything. Usually you get more, but you'll probably keep it to yourself.
So obviously you've come across entities on the other side, or things like guides. Have you had those experiences?
Yeah, yeah.
And what kind of things have you gained from that?
Reassurance, usually. Guides are very good at telling you how life currently is and reminding you that it's not going to be that way forever and that, you know, just put your focus here and you'll be cool. Don't say these things anymore because it's ruining your relationship. Focus on this part of the relationship instead. Yeah. Guides, they guide. And they do it from, I want to say a distance, but they tend to do it from informational standpoint. They'll give you advice because they know they can't be here physically to help you out. But you're here, so you have like a lot of the power. And so they'll tell you what to focus on, what to do, what not to do, so everything's okay. And they'll also remind you that things are temporary and you're going to be okay very soon.
Yeah. And I suppose you've had negative entities as well.
Negative entities will try their hardest and sometimes be successful to get here and get inside your field, riddle your mind with anxiety and fear and all kinds of neurotic thoughts. They'll just mess you up. And so, yeah, you don't want to astral project at nighttime if you're in a low vibration. You want to take your time. You want to make sure that you're good first. I always say don't deal with other forms of divination if you don't know what you're doing and astral project around the same time, because you'll fill your space with those divination tools with the wrong things. And yeah, just like seek one source of refuge, usually. Call it God, call it the field, call it the absolute, call it whatever. Realize that that thing is nurturing to your mind. It'll make you sane and it'll make you healthy, give life to you. It won't take it away. You don't need anything else. And then explore, leave the body. Remember who you or what you were, what you are. Revisit places that you visited before in the other planes. And you should be untouchable.
And in those like out of body like states or experiences, if somebody's going to embark on that, there must also be, like we were saying earlier, an evolution to that in itself. As far as the first time you would do it, you've got no idea what you're doing. After experience like yourself, you've got a much clearer picture of what's going on, what you can do, what to stay away from. Or you might be even asking questions that someone like me wouldn't even think to ask.
Right. And that's why I paused so long before answering your questions. I was like, so you're even avoiding me saying this because what I'm saying isn't the right answer. Whatever's right is whatever's happening. You know what I mean? Like there's a natural evolution of something. So whereas I might say, don't do it for these reasons, that might be the reason as to why you find out as to why you shouldn't do it for those reasons. And so you start to realize over time that you just kind of go with the flow. You kind of just watch things happen. And the same thing happens when you have kids. Same thing happens if you're in relationships. You kind of stop telling them what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. You might propose the right thing and be like, hey, if you do this, this might happen. You don't like force them into doing something in a particular way. Kid says, no, I want to peel it like this, with like an orange without rolling it first. Like, you're like, if you do this, it'll be easier. And they're like, no, I want it. Okay. And then you just go sit down and you wait until they change their mind. That might be spirituality right there, right? That's the natural way of doing things. It's how we are when we're kids. It doesn't stop when we become adults. I usually say adults are just more complex version of kids. Our brains develop quite a bit and become more intelligent in that way, more smart. Although my 5-year-old, very freaking smart, very intelligent. She tricks me, man. She'll set me up for a while too for an insult. It's insane. And I fall into it. I'm like, wow, I was premeditated for a while. So, but yeah,
It's almost like there's lessons around every corner. It's just whatever you choose to take from it.
yeah. I mean, and that goes into, because I was thinking I could say what not to do, but then I have said what to do and what not to do before, and people have listened and they've dodged a bullet. So it's like, what is right and what is wrong when it comes to giving advice? give it out anyway because someone's going to take it, and whoever doesn't, that's their journey, to find out the other way, the way that that specific group of people are going to figure out. Mm.
Yes, that's what comes to mind with that is the people that are very much think that they are full of advice and they must dish it out and people must take it as they say it. Whereas the person is a person or a soul on the other end that needs to take it as they need to take it. It may not be the same.
Right, right, right. You know what's really funny is nothing we're saying here is new. Like this, this is this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
stuff we hear about a lot when we're kids and we watch parents parent kids, and we hear stories of how their parents parented them, and it's the same thing, just copy and paste it throughout time. It's amazing, really.
Exactly. So what would you say to someone like myself I'm starting on down the journey of trying out of body experiences. I'm doing the binaural beats, I'm doing the relaxation of the body, getting to kind of almost like the sleep paralysis type state, the vibrations in the body, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. I've even been through a stage of a little bit of frustration with it and then I've realized no, I just need to trust that it'll happen when it needs to happen and I'll just keep trying, but without such intensity of expectation. What am I doing? Am I doing something wrong, or would you recommend something different?
I mean, you're fumbling in the right way, and that's which is what I like about astral projection. Yeah, if you do, like usually people do way too much in the beginning and that's where they get frustrated or they stay wide awake. But if you just keep at it, eventually there's only so much excitement you'll have towards practicing. Eventually you'll lie there like, okay, let's start again. And the excitement will be less and less and less and less and less, which means you won't throw yourself out of the state. So you're more than likely to have it happen because you're not getting in the way emotionally. If you just lie there anyway rather than getting up, and that's a form of surrender. You're no longer controlling the process. You're letting it run its own course the way that it wants to. So by lying there being like, oh, I want to quit, screw it, I'll just lay here and get ready for the next 20 minutes. Why not? I have no work. I have no place to be. I might as well just be here for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. If I fall asleep even, that's fine. And you just give up because you've started the process and now you've gotten out of the way, you're allowing it to initiate itself. You'll slide out. And so it's fumbling in the right way because through astral projection and all the frustration that comes, if you keep trying, you will slowly stop trying. And then you'll find this nice sweet spot. Then you'll figure out, oh, okay, I need to get here. When it comes to low effort, still structured in the beginning, but low effort, structured, get the ball rolling, and then step back. And then you'll figure out that certain times throughout the day are more indicative of an out of body experience. Like they're easier to achieve. And so then you'll start practicing this low effort strategy throughout times of the day where you're probably more physically exhausted, not mentally exhausted. If you're mentally exhausted, you're not going to have any mental power to focus. You're going to keep falling asleep. But if you're physically exhausted, you're going to use up all of the agitation in the physical body. Like my leg bounces a lot. It always does that in interviews and in calls. It's quite frustrating for a lot of people because my computer keeps moving. But if I do a whole bunch of squats, my leg's not going to move. And so it's the same thing when it comes to trying to leave the body. A lot of people, they constantly adjust their neck or their shoulders or their hands because they have this low level of tonic activity that's still pretty much present in their body that needs to be expelled. You need to move, basically. And so don't do that in the moment. Don't move around a lot. Just don't astral project in that precise moment. Get up, do something physical. Skip for 10 minutes, jumping jacks, burst sprints. Go outside for a walk for like 30 minutes at a low pace. Just something where you're having that opportunity to kind of expel that last bit of energy out of the muscles, that muscle tone, as it's referred to, the level of tonic activity in the muscles. And then go try again. And if you do it during the right time of day, so maybe in the early afternoon, you should still be quite awake. You haven't used your brain for anything just yet. You haven't gone to work or done anything that requires thinking. Run around, walk around, get your exercise in, eat something so all your needs are met. You're not thinking about food when you're trying to leave the body. And then lay down, and what you should be in is you should be quite aware, not mentally tired at all. Don't even look at your phone. Your phone can drain your mental battery, because the flashing screen that your eyes don't pick up on, your brain picks up on, and it's constantly having to readjust. And so what ends up happening is the brain becomes fatigued. And you're like, why am I getting tired when I'm looking at my phone? It's because it's constantly flashing light at you and you don't notice it, but your brain does. It wears it out. So not even being on your phone in the morning, just going outside, running around, getting the body moving, or just cleaning your house. Just get up and clean the house. That'll do it. And then lay down. Notice how you're still mentally alert. Your body's relaxed. Now shift your state by doing the practices. And most practices will have you do things that will get you into theta. Theta is good because it gets you into dreaming states. Or in other words, it allows you to see things, incoming signals. If you are thinking in theta, you're dreaming in theta, because your thoughts will naturally take form and you'll start seeing your own thoughts, seeing the activity of your brain, and then you'll fall asleep in the activity of your brain. But if you're not thinking in theta, then what ends up happening is you're wide awake and you're super receptive to other incoming signals that aren't of your own subconscious mind. These are impressions coming from subtle planes, subtle realities, and they show up on what's known as the screen of your pineal gland. The screen of your pineal gland is specifically reserved for psychic phenomenon, not your imagination. That's the imagination space. That's what we dial into when we start thinking. We follow our thoughts as we fall asleep into theta. In order to perceive incoming signals properly without falling asleep, you need to be actually not even in deep theta. You need to be in low alpha, dipping into theta for a while. Alpha is a relaxed body. You've been relaxed because you've run around, but your mind is still pretty much aware enough to be observant. So you're observing thoughts, observing. We do this a lot when we're kids and we're told to go to sleep and we're wide awake. Our body eventually stops moving when we stop singing or running around or doing whatever in our bed, jumping up and down out of our bunk beds. And we just lie there just staring. What can make it easier is having stars on the ceiling, or some kind of hologram that's being projected in front of us, or if you go really far back before tech, what they dials, like I forget the name. They kind of move around.
I think they're called.
Mobiles. Something to observe without thinking when your body relaxes. And as your body relaxes, you become this observer. You're not following your own thoughts. Incoming signals come in. Usually when you're a child, it's the static in the room. Start to take form of people and shapes and weird things. You trip out. That's how it initiated as a kid. But you can do the same thing as an adult in many different ways. You just got to understand the body needs to be completely spent. Well, obviously completely, but to the point where you're not moving. And your mind needs to be aware enough to the point where you can keep track of things, any things. There are so many things you can keep track of to initiate an out-of-body experience. There's the noise that I was just talking about, the visual noise. You can do this. This is a technique. You can be lying there. The body's just completely spent. Seeing static, and you just watch the static for as long as you possibly can. And you should leave the body. In this case, you won't even notice when you leave the body because you should be aware enough. The problem is a lot of adults can't stay aware mentally long enough for this to happen. You can make the conditions right, like I was saying, to go on your phone or do any work or anything like that, and you'll get closer. But you'll probably be lying there for a while, for some days, maybe even months, until gradually you've trained yourself to stay in this kind of alpha low theta without falling completely unconscious. But then there are tricks to that too. Like there are ways of staying in this nice sweet spot without falling asleep. For example, did you know that if you pay attention to your peripheral vision, you instantly shift into alpha right away? This is this is due to the parasympathetic nervous system being triggered. The rest, digest, and more importantly, rest, digest, and heal state. Essentially, as being in animalistic bodies, when our guard is down and we're relaxed, our peripheral vision widens. And when it widens, we relax and we stay pretty calm. Especially if you're looking at your scenery, your eyes are open, you're looking at your peripheral. You're not inside thinking anymore. You're anchored on external things. Got this wide field of vision telling your brain and your body that everything is safe and calm and you can relax. there's no way you're going to go into your head and fall asleep. And so a particular technique to do, you can do is just sitting up. It's often recommended is you sit up, cross your legs if you'd like, or you can just sit down normally, or just kind of lean back a little bit, but make sure you're sitting up and not laying down completely horizontal to the ground. And you have your eyes open in a dimly lit room, and you pay attention to your peripheral vision on both sides. And you do that to the point where it feels like your vision is stretching from narrow focus to wide. It's like a natural stretching. You can use your hands if you want. You can literally do that. Keep your vision forward and notice that feeling of your peripheral widening. Or you can start off with something a little simpler. You can put your thumb in front of your face, keep your vision straight, and move your hand all the way out. And notice your peripheral over here. Move your hand a little bit further. Move, wiggle your fingers. You can't see because the camera's not showing, but you can wiggle your fingers and make your way further and further back. And notice the stretching. Do the same thing here. And again, your eyes are face forward the whole time. You just increase your peripheral vision. Then what you do is you just sit there, soft gaze, head forward, noticing this wide field of view that you've just elongated drastically. If you have a little bit more time, you could do the hand one, the single thumb. And then you close your eyes and you do the exact same thing. And the moment you close your eyes, you'll notice everything goes like this again. Stretch it like a rubber band just through looking through like the static, the darkness. Your peripherals, you'll feel it, the stretch, and just sit there relaxed for a while. You'll know when you're dipping into theta because for a brief moment, you might get a thought or a little dream come up, but you won't fully succumb to it because you're sitting up. Because you're sitting up, your adrenals are still firing. There's still low-level tonic activity in the body. And this is telling the brain that you are still awake and active and moving. So it's not going to make you go into deep theta because it knows that you've still got adrenaline coursing through your body and muscle activity. This is great because it can train you into these levels of just being aware whilst being relaxed enough to not fall asleep. So this is like a great beginner exercise. Another thing that I would
It's
say
like a
to your
beginner
listeners,
practice.
yeah. And another thing that I would say to your listeners to definitely do is when you notice that you might be daydreaming or wandering off, realize that again, noticing your peripheral instantly puts you into alpha, and alpha keeps you awake. So all you've got to do is use your peripheral vision as an anchor. You've softened you've softened your attention too much to the point where it's come off of the anchor and now you're daydreaming. Just notice the anchor more by using your eyes and looking at your peripheral and find that sweet spot. And you'll find yourself at the right mental balance, mental effort to not be over-focused, because if you're over-focused, you'll be wide awake sitting up and your body won't relax. But also not be so mentally soft that you start daydreaming. And once you've got that down and it's easy and you're just like going upwards of 3 minutes, 5 minutes without a single thought, nothing going through your head because you're focused on your peripheral vision. Slowly decline yourself, slowly lay down a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and remove those pillows until you're vertical on the floor. You do the exact same thing. And what you'll notice is you'll allow your body to go into very deep states of theta whilst being completely awake. Anything can happen at that point. Anything can happen. You can have an out-of-body experience, sure. You can have past life experience if you want. If you know these techniques already, you just insert them here, you just do them now because the timing is right. Your body's completely out of the picture and your mind is aware and it's observant and you should be able to do it. But that's something people can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've had a few experiences where I've been from the lying down, listening to the binaural beats and closed and relaxed and still and all of that, where I've started to feel that as if my legs are moving up or my arms are moving up, sort of separate from my body. I suppose that might be, I don't know, the start of it or something. But it was equally sort of like, I think I got a bit emotional, like I got a little bit excited, but then also there was a little bit of fear kicked in. But I don't know if it feels like the fear is not so much emotional. It's almost like an automatic reaction of the body or something.
Yeah.
Panicking.
Yeah. And that's, you're right. It's your, it's unfamiliar territory for the body. So it freaks out. You have to affirm to yourself sentences so that it can calm down.
Like, it's almost like, how can you stop that if the body's just going to do that? How do you get past that? This is like a fear of some sort, but I feel like it's more than just a mental fear.
Primal. It's like a physical reaction. It's like a physical reaction to heights, but to the idea of dying. But you got to use affirmations. You got to tell the body in the moment, if our body can do this, then it's built for this, which is a really good one that I used to use when I was having the same problem. And you can come up with as many as you can come up with. As long as they make sense, you'll notice the body will de-escalate and you should be able to leave. You'll get past that hump.
So it's just literally like talking your head to your body and your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever the anxiety is coming from, treat it like a person and speak it through the process. And you'll notice the next day that you try, you won't have those same problems. You continue where you last left off.
Yeah, and with practice, these things just evolve. I suppose that was the theme of this chat. It's got its evolution.
Yeah, I mean, if you're open to it, yeah, with practice, you can speed things up. The evolving state is so it's a learning state. Look at it like a learning state. You know, you're teaching the body to be calm all the time. At some point, you'll be able to just lie there and be calm, and that's only because of the affirmations you did. If you want to try and just kind of throw yourself through it without the affirmations, it takes time.
You would get a bit more fight back.
Yeah.
That was a great explanation, or a great sort of like trajectory of what people can follow, and very helpful for me too as well. So thank you. And that leads me on to, as we sort of bring this back to earth a bit, that leads me on to you offer these teachings and coachings and things, don't you? Online courses.
Yeah, in many different forms from many different types of people. Um, I have a free training on my YouTube. Not well, YouTube is a free training, of course, but on my website I have a free training model built into my menu. Where, if you know about blindfolded sightseeing, blindfolded, there's that there too. I actually just added that there. But besides that, there's also like this kind of, I want to say questionnaire, but it's really not a questionnaire, because when I say that, people think, oh, it's not really. You know, like we
Pass
have
or
a kind
fail.
of already, yeah. It's actually, I kind of built it to be a teaching tool. Oh, I did. I built it to be a teaching tool. You answer questions, and it'll tell you where you're stuck. You have to go through the questionnaire for it to assess where you're stuck. Then it will give you an article that I wrote out, and the article will tell you exactly how to get over your problem. It will remember your score. Because after the questionnaire, it will give you a score when it comes to alertness. Basically, it's called an astral projection readiness score. And it'll break down the many different components that you need to have a grip on to leave the body, more or less. And it'll give you this score, then it'll give you the article, and in the article, it will tell you how to fix the problem, the main problem in your results. And then again, it will record your score. And so the next time you go to it, maybe it'll be like a week later, you do the questionnaire. Now the questions, you're going to have different answers to the questions, right? Maybe you're able to stay aware for a longer period of time. So maybe that was easy. And then you click easy, very easy. And then your score will be different. And it'll train you again. It'll give you the next piece of information that you need to help iron out the cracks. And this can help you astral project for those who want something for free. I also have a 10-step conditioning process. This is one that I was actually using quite a bit. It's the one that I settled on once I finally figured out how to get out of my body without inducing anxiety or fear states. What this does is you do it enough times, learn the steps first, then just keep practicing. And the body starts to condition itself into this state to the point where you feel that you can leave whenever you want. And it makes it hard to sleep. I recently added a 4-hour class to it because I was actually teaching it to a group of people at one point. And I ended up adding so many more techniques and so much more information, including how to fall asleep again. But that's out there on my website as well. That's often a go-to. It's a very popular course that a lot of people just jump straight to. There's mindset training for that if you want it. You don't have to have it. And there's a yearly program, which I think I may be at the end of now when it comes to teaching. I've been doing it for about 2 years, maybe coming up 3. And that is weekly calls every weekend, depending on when you sign up. It's full access to me through Telegram, text messages, groups as well, because I put everyone in one group. They all learn off each other as well. We go over things that we go over in the program in that Telegram group. It's a very intimate space. It takes a lot of focus and time. If you don't have the focus and time, do not do it. I say that truly from a good place. I want you to leave the body, and if you don't have the time to do it, do not do it, because there have been moments where people have signed up for that yearly program, but they haven't been able to go the distance because they don't have the time. Life seems to be the number one factor that gets in the way. So like I said, there's something there for everyone, and it's a fun website. There's a game there as well. I have ways of making my stuff accessible for free to people, even paid courses. Like there was a competition that I had a while ago with my subscribers, and that went pretty successfully. But yeah, that's about it really. I'm always interested in the site, always changing things.
Got its own evolution too.
Yeah, it sure does.
Like everything. Well, and I'll put those links in the description of the video below as well for anyone who's interested, which I think I'll be shooting straight over there. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, it's one, not many people get it. I just think they just don't really know how useful it is. Years ago, I built a guided meditation that's very interactive. It's actually a part of the 10 steps. I included it there, but I will make a feature available so someone can just get it as a standalone thing. It's really, really smart because a client of mine had me stay at her place for a while, and she learned how to astral project using YouTube, like using my channel. And I hear it because I'm in her kitchen, and I can hear her watching one of my videos, and she's upright on her bed. She's getting ready to leave her body. And I say to her, I've been kind of playing with this idea lately. Would you like to do something better? And she's like, yeah, sure. She closes the laptop, puts it to one side. And I said, close your eyes. She sat up, relaxed, induce her into a relaxed state. It's quite easy. Just tells someone to relax. And you have them listen to your words so that they have something to observe. They're not thinking, they're just listening in a relaxed state, this alpha state we were talking about earlier, this like low alpha. And what I did was I would walk around the room and I would tell her to do certain things. Like, for example, I would have her shift her awareness outside of her body and follow me throughout the room. And then I would, this is a light astral projection. You're basically preparing the body and the brain for this later. And I'd move around the room. I would say all these different things. It lasted probably about 15 minutes. Once it was done, I was like, okay, now just lay down and you should be fine. I went back to my room. Probably about an hour later, she knocks on my door and she's like, Ryan, I just spoke to my spirit guide. And she literally, this is a specific spirit guide she's wanted to speak to for the longest time because she said straight out of her body. And I was like, that was an awesome result. Then Shahrazad, she was like, hey, you should find a way to make sure everyone can do that. I was like, how am I going to be in everyone's room all over the world when I'm here in North Carolina, right? She's like, I don't know, you'll figure it out. So about probably a week later, I come up with this idea. I can make music. I know how to make sounds and really play with sound. I came up with this idea to create this audio track, this guided meditation that you can actually listen to if you have two speakers. It's stereoscopic. So what you would do is you put a blindfold on, you lay down on the floor, take one speaker, put it in one corner of the room, another speaker, put it in the other corner of the room and press play. And what happens is it will create the auditory illusion that I'm in your room. And I go through the exact process that I went through with my client. Not many people know about this little feature on the site. They don't know about this download. It is, like I said, it's a part of the 10-step program. It's just an additional thing there. It used to be something you could buy as a standalone audio. I will introduce that again to the site because it's just so useful. But since changing over to a different site, it ended up just kind of getting lost. I'll put that out there. It's extremely affordable. It's like as affordable as an app. It's like, I think $3 to $4, something like that.
Wow.
It's very useful. It's very useful.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. More than just a meditation anyway.
Nah, it's a very nuanced thing. I think that's probably why it didn't quite take off a whole lot. People had to like buy speakers and stuff. But if you already have these things in your room, then why not use them? You know, you can't use normal headphones. It doesn't work. It doesn't create this illusion because it sounds like I'm walking in your head. It doesn't sound like I'm walking in the room. You need to actually use space.
I've got a
Uh,
couple of Bluetooth speakers, so I could stick them one on each side of the room and play it. That would work, I think.
yeah, that would work. That would work. Just talking about it makes me want to do it right now.
Oh, well, thank you very much. This has been very enlightening.
No, thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Thank you too. Thank you too. So, how did you enjoy that interview? I certainly enjoyed it, and I've made some notes about how to get to the out of body states. I really appreciate the fact that he broke it down for us and, step by step how to get there. And he's also got those free resources on his website where he gives you a questionnaire and you fill out the questionnaire and you get a bit of an idea of which particular things it is that are holding you back and into getting to the out of body state. So let me know in the comments where you're at. I enjoy reading the comments and I reply to them all. So thanks for watching.